So yeah, the Quest 2 is here, and I hurried to get my hands on one as soon as possible. In this video, I'll be sharing my thoughts and experiences from using the Quest 2 for a bit, so I hope you can use it for something. First off, I'd like to show off the unboxing. The box is a bit more low profile than the Rift S box, with just a thin cover over this simplistic cardboard design. Opening the box, we're greeted with 2 controllers, a smaller box, and of course the Quest 2 itself. The small box just contained the charger and some manuals, which I totally read. Next up are the controllers, which look really sleek and fit the hand quite well. I'll have a dedicated section for these later. And finally, the headset itself, which looks just gorgeous. And I'm totally not just saying this to justify the 350 euros I spent on it. There's nothing else in the box, but really this is all we need for a complete VR experience. So when I booted up the Quest 2 for the first time, I was greeted with a quick firmware update and a short setup guide, which overall just took a couple minutes. After that, I got sent into the Oculus Home, and the first thing I did was of course to go through the settings. And I quickly found the record button, which I've used for the rest of this footage. The menu overall seems intuitive enough, although I had to search a bit for some of the features. One feature I'm really happy I found was this night mode switch, which seems to drown out most of the blue colors from the screen, making it much easier on the eyes for those night sessions. The foam padding for the face is quite different from that of the Rift S, and it's much more like the original Quest, which only makes sense. It's fairly sturdy, so it'll keep its shape, but it's soft enough that it doesn't actually hurt your face, so it's alright. Just like with other headsets, however, it is impossible to swap out, so it might be worth it to get a VR cover once they make one for this headset. The stock strap is a simple around and over the head solution, but it actually works quite well for its intended purpose. It sits nicely on the head, although I'd say it definitely feels like it's being pulled more towards the top of your head rather than directly onto it. One thing I was a bit scared away by in the start was the amount of light that comes in through the bottom. I was even able to operate my phone while also having the Quest 2 on just because there was so much room. However, I found that in games it was actually fairly easy to ignore, so well, I guess it isn't that bad. Overall, the stock strap works quite well, and I really enjoy using it for more casual media viewing and shorter gaming sessions. If you use it for longer, expect it to feel a bit too front heavy. As I mentioned, I also got the Elite strap. Installing it is super easy. First, you remove the old strap by just removing the face cover, taking off the top strap, and then unclicking the arms from both sides of the headset. Then, to install the new one, just click the sides in, wind the top velcro through, and put the face cover back on again. It's a bit scary to do at first, but once you get the method down, it is super easy. Now, the Elite strap eliminates most of the comfort issues I have with the stock one. First of all, the weight balance is great with the strap. I didn't experience any weight issues in a 2-hour session. It also just feels better to wear. It feels like the headset is more a part of your head rather than just something that sits on it. If I had to mention one negative about the strap, it would be the knob on the back of the head. It's great for tightening the headset, but it also gets in the way when trying to lean on things. So for example, when sitting in your bed and watching a movie or whatever, the old strap is still better because it's not in the way, it's smaller. But definitely, if you consider getting the Quest 2, I would advise also getting the Elite strap. The controllers were perhaps the thing I was most scared and excited about when buying this headset. Their form looks more like the original CV1 controllers, but after trying them, that's really not the vibe I'm getting. The handle seems more thin than on CV1 controllers, and overall they remind me a lot more of a Rift S controller. Their thumb plate is much wider, and from the looks of it, this space is being used for some kind of capacitive sensor, which I'll touch on in a bit. Other than this, the Oculus and menu buttons were moved a bit further to the side, a change I am very happy with, because I accidentally hit those buttons sometimes on the previous controllers. As for the battery cover, the magnets from the old controllers have been replaced by some sort of clip, and the string to hold the battery has been replaced by some other weird looking contraption. One more change I'm really happy with is the strap. The strap on my Rift S controllers have gotten progressively more tangled, but that doesn't seem to be possible with this one. Finally, I wanted to talk a bit more about that capacitive sensor. I assume they just haven't set up the software for it yet, but I tried to see how it reacted in a few different programs. The program where I got most reaction out of it was VR Chat. Here, when holding my thumb on it, it acted as when you rest a finger on the trigger, but while holding the grip button down at the same time, it acted like a regular thumb button. So I'm very interested in seeing if they'll actually do anything with this. Overall, the new controllers are pretty great actually. The battery placement is better, the strap is better, the grip is fine. There's nothing really negative to say about this, but it also isn't like a huge step up from the previous ones. Now to the interesting part, the display. The Quest 2 features a nearly 2K by 2K display on each eye, more than both of the previous generation Oculus headsets, and pretty much rivaling that of the Index and Reverb G2. I, when upgrading from Rift S, certainly could see a big difference. The display is much clearer, and screen door effect is virtually non-existent. Of course, there is still the issue with this headset only using one display, meaning IPD adjustment is a bit more tricky. The Quest 2 has 3 different settings for IPD, and I found the middle one to give the best experience. The other 2 looked absolutely horrible for me, but I suppose that's the whole point of having an adjustment system. I've heard tales of people with a high IPD saying the highest option makes the field of view smaller and more box-like, perhaps because they're reaching the ends of the display. So this is certainly only a headset for people with a middle range IPD. Finally, there's the whole deal with refresh rate. The Quest 2 is set to have a 72Hz refresh rate by default, with a toggleable 90Hz mode as well. I did find the 90Hz option, but I honestly didn't experience a huge difference. It is also only limited to the Oculus Home and a few other supported apps. Overall, the screen is a huge step up from both Rift S and Quest, with virtually no screen door effect and a high pixel density. Its downfall is mostly the lack of IPD adjustment, but also the uncertainty in how well a 90Hz really works. Sideloading on the Quest 2 is pretty much the same as the original Quest, so I won't really talk much about it here. If you need help setting it up, go to SideQuest's website and just follow their instructions. The Quest also has the possibility of connecting it to a PC via Quest Link. Setup for this is super easy, just connecting the headset and PC with a USB cable and pressing connect. Link makes the Quest work as a PC VR headset, and really it does just that. When I tried it out, I immediately noticed a difference in quality, however. Text was harder to read, everything was blurrier, and now I definitely noticed the fall from 90Hz in Oculus menu screen to 72Hz via Link. I wanted to get some proper testing in a few major games, so I booted up Half-Life Alyx, but this didn't seem to work. Even with 20 minutes of troubleshooting, I couldn't get it to work on the Quest, while it worked perfectly fine with my Rift S. This, to be honest, makes me a bit worried. I also quickly tried Boneworks, but that didn't seem to work either. However, that was a much shorter testing period than Half-Life Alyx. Finally, I returned to my trusty old friend, Beat Saber, which at least worked just fine, albeit I did notice a slight delay when playing 10-star and above maps. So, the display is definitely lower quality, but other than that it works just fine. In the end, Link is something I'm afraid I couldn't test properly, as multiple games just straight up didn't work. From the fairly limited things I have seen, however, the quality of the link seems to be similar to that of the Rift S, so it's still a solid experience. Finally, there's Virtual Desktop. Virtual Desktop is honestly one of the best purchases I've ever made. It was super easy to set up, and once I got it rolling, I was able to play any PCVR games on my Quest 2 without needing a cable. The visual quality is similar to that of my Link experience, so if I had to choose between them, there's no negatives for this method compared to Link. It should, however, be noted that I have a very good internet connection, making the Virtual Desktop experience much smoother. Also, when testing Link, I wasn't using an official Oculus cable, so I can't say if that might have been part of the reason why it didn't work all too well. In the end, I can safely vouch for Virtual Desktop as an awesome program if you have the bandwidth, and Link as a seemingly great alternative if you don't mind the wire. They both tone down the visual quality a bit, but this was barely noticeable and entirely ignorable when playing Half-Life Alyx on a freaking Quest. If there are any updates, corrections, or anything that I need to tell you after making this video, I'll write it in a comment and pin it, so make sure to check there in case there might be some corrections.